So just to give you a little background into my childhood, until I was 10 years old, about 70% of the music I listened to was musical soundtracks. Thanks, Mom. And it wasn't until I was about 10 that I started listening to pop radio. And in the same year, when I was 5 years old, I went to see The Little Mermaid in movie theaters, like all my friends, and I went to see Phantom of the Opera, my first Broadway touring production with my mom. And I loved it. Like, I loved it so much. There were sets and costumes and singing and dancing and performing in front of an audience, and I just thought, like, I wanted to do that. And the only problem was that I can't sing. I'm a really bad singer. We were talking about tooting our horns. I'm really good at a lot of other things. This isn't like a self-esteem problem, it's just a statement of fact. Not a good singer. And so when I did start listening to pop radio and Artese and the Weekly Top 40 on 102.7 KISS FM, I would not sing along to my favorite songs because anyone in a car with me discouraged me from doing so. But I would make up dances, like on days off from school, I would push the couches to the walls and I would like make up my little moves and like get going and like just hope that the gardeners didn't see me or anything like that. And had a lot of fun. And then as the years went on and I went on to middle school and high school, I discovered drama class, which was perfect because drama class had costumes and it had sets and it had performing for an audience, but it didn't have singing. So it was like home. It was where I belonged. And on top of that, what I loved about drama class was the teacher, who was Miss Laurie. Miss Laurie's one of my favorite people in the universe. To this day, I keep in touch with her. And what I loved doing with Miss Laurie was bits to make her laugh. Like, if I could make Miss Laurie laugh, it was a good day. And the best way that I would do that, frequently, she should have gotten tired of it, but she didn't, was I would speak in the voice of Mr. Tudball from the Carol Burnett Show. So me, the like 15-year-old Danny, would walk into class and be like, "Hello, Miss Laurie. How are you this weekend? I hope you had a good day. Thank you." And she would laugh, and it didn't even matter if it made sense what I was talking about or not. She just liked hearing the voice, and I think she just appreciated that I was referencing a show that was 30 years old, twice as old as I was, and I knew it. And so we would have her laugh, and I would try to keep it going and just get her to laugh bigger, laugh more, to mixed results. And she kind of nurtured and supported me as I went from beginning drama to intermediate to advanced theater arts. And that was the class, thank you, yeah. I told you I was good at other things. That was the class that actually put on the school plays. And the way it worked in that class was you auditioned for the class, and then the class put on the show. So it wasn't like the whole school auditioned for the play. Once you were in the class, we were like the performing company that put on the shows. And we did 2 scripted shows and like student skits for one of them. And by the end of my junior year, I was a lead in one of the school plays. It was going really well. I was having a great time, spending more time with Miss Laurie, my favorite teacher. And then senior year of high school, right before winter break, she announced that she was thinking of doing a musical, which was both thrilling and terrifying. Thrilling because I loved musicals. Like, I'd grown up on them. They were my favorite form of entertainment. Going with my mom to see a show was a thrill, but terrifying because I still could not sing. So I didn't know what my role in this musical was going to be. And I expressed some of my concerns, and she said, Danny, like, it's not about vocal ability, it's about selling the song. So we had an assignment over winter break. Winter break was 2 weeks. We had to work on a song. We would perform it for her after break. And it wasn't an audition, it was like a pre-audition, because if we did this musical, we were gonna work with the choir class. And she wanted to make sure that there was enough singing talent in our class that the choir kids wouldn't get all the lead roles. So it was sort of low-key, low pressure. And for the first week of winter break, I picked my song, Big Spender, which is sort of like a Broadway classic, like belty number. I worked on a dance to go with it because I knew where I would lack in vocal ability. I had some moves. And after the first week, I thought, I need to check this with someone before I put it in front of Miss Laurie. So I went over to my best friend's house. Candace was a beautiful singer, and she also wouldn't judge me, so I knew it was going to be safe. So I went over to her house. I sang my song. I didn't do the dancing part because that wasn't what it was about. I sang the song, and I did not need her to tell me it didn't go well. Because a neighbor called to complain about the singing, and at one point her dog started yowling in tune with me. So I was trying to sing, I was like, woo, woo, woo. which actually is better singing than I was doing, probably. So she very diplomatically said, you know, Danny, you picked a really hard song, first off. Maybe just to challenge yourself a little bit less, you could do something easier like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Just do a basic. And I got to thinking, like, I didn't want to embarrass myself. Probably wasn't a bad idea. I knew I wasn't going to impress with my singing, so I was pretty set on doing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And then for the second week of break, I was going to be able to get it ready to perform for Miss Lori. But the thing is, when you are, I don't say tone deaf, I say I was tone hard of hearing. Because you could tell what song I was trying to sing, for the most part, even if you didn't immediately recognize it. When you are tone hard of hearing, no one song is any easier or harder to sing than another, because you can't recognize if you're hitting the notes anyway. So I was like, you know what? I worked on Big Spender. I am going back after winter break, and I'm singing Big Spender for Miss Lori. So the day we got back, I wanted to make sure that she knew, because I saw her in the halls for the day. I was like, Miss Lori, I'm a really bad singer, but I did prepare something. She's like, Danny, everyone thinks that. I'm sure you'll be fine. I was like, no, really, I'm not a good singer. And she said, well, you know, I'll be the judge of that. And I was like, okay. So our class was after lunch. It came to lunchtime. It was time to sing our songs. I requested kindly that none of the other students in class be in the theater while I sang for Miss Lori. It was just the two of us. I changed into my wardrobe for the day, which was my jazz shoes and jazz pants, as well as a collared black dress shirt with sparkly silver diagonal stripes. Well, I was ready. And so the music started. I had made a backing track, like by holding up my stereo, or tape recorder to the stereo with the volume set so that the vocals were in one speaker, but I only had the music in one. It wasn't even like a karaoke track, so you could kind of hear Shirley Bassey in the background. So the music started, dun, da, da, dun, da, dun, and it was the chair dance. It was a chair dance, because if you have the choice to do a chair dance or not a chair dance, go with the chair dance, right? And then dun, da, da, dun, da, dun. I was a little better than that, but not much. And then I started singing, and I hit the first big note of the song, and she sort of held back a laugh. And I want you to remember two things at this point in the story. One, I had no notion that I was a good singer. Two, I lived to make Miss Lori laugh. So this was actually a great response. She held up her hand at this point, like right at the beginning of the song. She said, okay, Danny, I get what you were saying. I believe you. You can stop. You don't have to finish your song. And I was so relieved. Then I thought, no, I'm sorry. I worked on my song, and there's a dance, and I would really like to do the whole thing for you. And she wasn't going to stop me. So I started up from the beginning. I finished the whole thing, and I tried to do it a little bit bigger, because now she was laughing. So instead of like a little boom, it was like boom. And instead of just like a big note, it was a huge note that even probably Kelly Clarkson couldn't hit. And I was just trying to just make it as amusing as possible for her. And it worked, because midway through the song, she fell out of her chair and she was on the ground laughing with like tears down her face. And I could barely finish the song because I was laughing with her, because it was so funny, and I recognized it was so bad it was good again. And so when the song finished, we were both very relieved to have it over with. And she did tell me that although it wasn't an audition, she could let me know now that I was not going to be getting a singing part in the show. But I had really sold the song, and she offered me the role of choreographer. And if I had not finished my whole dance that I had worked on for 2 weeks, she would never have known the potential I had to be a dancing superstar in Greece. So it worked out really well in the end. Thanks.